Well, it seems that we've lost the line to the Bloemfontein High Court as well, where Julius Malema is appearing. The EFF leader, Julius Malema, is appearing at the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court today. He's facing charges of contravening the Writers' Assemblies Act of 1956 for allegedly inciting his supporters to occupy land.
Well, remember that in 2014, Malema allegedly urged party members, to occupy land, saying that it belonged to the black people of South Africa. And his legal team says the Writers' Assembly Act is very much unconstitutional. And during previous court appearances in Bloemfontein, he enjoyed support of hundreds and hundreds of people. And he's expected to address supporters outside the court. And we do understand that he's already in court now.
Well, tell you something about this case. This has been a matter that I've been following as well. In the Durban, in a Pietermaritzburg Magistrates Court, he was facing a similar charge, but he has gone to the High Court to have the Writers' Act declared unconstitutional. He believes even the Review Committee of Parliament that looks into the laws that needs to be repealed from the apartheid era has failed in doing this time around. Susan Boyson.
Yes, indeed. I think it is a good time to take a good look at all these largely pieces of security legislation that still comes from the previous age, because they are inherently and automatically illegitimate in the public mind and in many other ethical political ways as well when they are used in a current dispensation. And if there is validity and a need for anything like that, vaguely approximately that, then there should be new replacement legislation to ensure that the laws actually have the legitimacy. Laws from the apartheid era, especially in security, really lack legitimacy. So I think it's a good time for a general overview.
Well, there you have visuals outside the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, where Julius Malema, the EFF leader, is appearing on charges of inciting his supporters to occupy land. I remember him saying, Simpiwe, that when you see, quote unquote, a beautiful piece of land and you like it, occupy it. And I wonder, though, with the current discussion and the current narrative that's taking place after the Parliament has now adopted the land expropriation without compensation, whether Julius Malema now finds more favour or more credibility that he has taken this stance.
Yes, indeed. I think those points are converging very nicely for the EFF, because there is a new narrative in the country, and there have been these motions in Parliament, and there's a review process underway, and all of that will really build up and could articulate very well with the issues that are being taken to court and will be pursued against Julius Malema here.
Well, there you have it. Julius Malema, the EFF leader, with the spokesperson of the party. As you can see, supporters of the EFF outside the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, where Julius Malema was appearing on a charge of inciting his supporters, as well members of the EFF, to occupy land. One thing that you have to give the EFF is the ability to mobilize, and they've done this even outside Mamwini Madikizela Mandela's house as well.
Yes, I think Jacob Zuma and his crowd in Durban could take a few lessons from mobilization in Bloemfontein. And there is a sense of passion here. In neither case we see the exact number. We haven't seen the higher aerial shots to get an idea as to the extent of crowds converging either in Bloemfontein or in Durban. That would be really interesting to know, whether it's hundreds or thousands.
At the same time, this is extraordinary. At the same time.
At the very same time, we see visuals of President Jacob Zuma, or former President Jacob Zuma, exiting the High Court at the same time that Julius Malema is getting into the Bloemfontein High Court. This is absolutely extraordinary.
This is extraordinary, Cecily.
Like a rehearsed musical about the past and the present.
Someone might argue that this has been choreographed to appear this way, that you have the former leader of the ANC walking outside the Durban High Court, and you have the leader of the EFF, who is a staunch opponent now of Jacob Zuma, also walking outside.
It does look like he's about to address the crowd at the same time that former President Jacob Zuma might address the crowd. This is quite groundbreaking, I must say.
Well, look at those visuals there. One of the visuals coming outside of the Durban High Court, where you have former President Jacob Zuma, and on the other hand, visuals outside the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, where the EFF leader Julius Malema has appeared Will both of them be addressing the crowd at the same time? You have red on one hand, and then you have the black, green, and gold on the other hand.
Indeed, CEO Beret on the one screen, and as Alton said, green, gold on the other hand. And now, Professor Voisin, Julius Malema did implore EFF members to be ready to take over government from the ANC, especially in the big metros. One may wonder, is this really a populist rhetoric? And I mean, given the fact that Julius Malema did say that at some point, while he's still in the ANC, that we need to expropriate land without compensation. Now that it does appear that this will be a reality anytime soon. So do you think that the ANC has literally handed power over to the EFF?
No, I do not see that, and that is not what some credible public opinion polls on the ground are telling us. The ANC is still by far the largest party, and in all likelihood, come next year's elections will be the largest party, and if not, it could very well manage to get an outright majority, given the renewal and Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC, this new ANC, being given, it seems, a new chance. And so the EFF rhetoric has to be seen in that context too. No political party can really claim mass credibility and have a good run up to the election if they do not claim they have the ability to win. And again, if I can fall back on public opinion polls, EFF is improving, but not even overtaking the DA when it comes to those votes. So it is, where does the popular rhetoric and on-the-ground mobilization meet with electoral politics, and can they feed that into electoral politics?
Okay, well, let's go straight to Cape Town, where we have Lawson Naidoo, who's from the Council for the Advancement of South Africa's Constitution. Lawson, you guys went to court to try and force the NDPP, Shaun Abrahams, not to make the announcement, and the Constitutional Court found that the crisis has been self-created. And of course, at this time, we're also waiting for the court whether it will uphold that High Court ruling that whether the NDPP's appointment should be set aside.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Yes, CASAC had approached the Constitutional Court on an urgent basis because we believe that it was inappropriate for someone as tainted as Mr. Shaun Abrahams, as the head of the NPA, to take a decision regarding the reinstitution of charges against Jacob Zuma. We will recall that it was Mr. Abrahams who fought alongside Mr. Zuma to avoid having his day in court until they both made an about turn before the Supreme Court of Appeal late last year. So in those circumstances, we felt it was inappropriate that someone like Abrahams should take that decision. But nevertheless, we welcome the fact, and this is a historic day, that a former president of the Republic is sitting in a criminal court facing charges of fraud, corruption, racketeering and money laundering. So this has been a long battle to get Jacob Zuma to face his day in court. It's the start of a process, but I think a vindication for the rule of law in South Africa.
Do you at all think, though, that CASAC may have jumped the gun, considering that Shaun Abrahams has now reinstated those charges?
No, it's not about whether he was going to reinstate or not reinstate the charges. The point was made that it is inappropriate for someone who the High Court in December ruled whose appointment was invalid should be taking such a decision. Had nothing to do with the decision itself, but the very nature of the process of taking that decision. So I don't believe that we jumped the gun. I think that the Constitutional Court did not provide a judgment on the merits of the arguments that we placed before the court, but rather on the basis of a lack of urgency in the matter. Having said that, the matter is now before the court. We certainly hope that when the case comes back before court on the 8th of June, that the trial process will be set in motion as soon as possible thereafter, so that finally we can have these allegations of on the 16 charges that Jacob Zuma faces aired in court, and that an independent judiciary can take a decision as to his guilt or otherwise.
Well, the visuals that you are seeing now on your screen are visuals straight out of outside the Durban High Court, where you have the clergy who's been supporting President Jacob Zuma, also had prayer sessions for the former president. And then on the other side of the screen, you have visuals outside the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, where we expect the EFF leader, Julius Malema, to be addressing the crowd. Lawson, before I let you go, one of the issues that the Constitutional Court will have to look into is whether Mxolisi Nxasane must be reinstated as the NDPP. Where does CASAC stand on that matter?
Well, it was an application that was brought by CASAC together with other organizations, Freedom Under Law and Corruption Watch, that sought firstly to set aside what we believe was the unlawful golden handshake of 17.3 million paid to entice Mr. Nkasana to leave office. We felt that that was unlawful, that his removal being unlawful, that there was no vacancy for Mr. Abrams to fill, and therefore his appointment as NDPP should be set aside. We also asked the court to declare unconstitutional various sections of the NPA Act, and we were successful on all of those grounds before the High Court. We are now awaiting a confirmation order from the Constitutional Court on those various matters, and that judgment, I think, is imminent, and we're expecting it any day now. And once that judgment is handed down, if it concurs with the High Court ruling, then President Ramaphosa will be in a position to appoint a new National Director of Public Prosecutions who can hopefully begin the process of revitalizing and restoring public confidence in that institution.
Sorry, are you then saying that that person shouldn't be Mxolisi Nxasane?
We have not supported the reappointment of Mr. Nkasana, particularly in this case, but should the court decide that Mr. Nkasana should be reappointed, we would have no objection to that.
Well, thank you so much. They're from Lawson Naidu, from CASAC. They have gone to the Constitutional Court to have that High Court ruling upheld, that the NDPP, Shaun Abrams, who's taken this decision to reinstate the charges against former President Jacob Zuma, that has led to the moment that we're seeing in front of our screens now, that his appointment be set aside.
Same regime that says that they adopted the Freedom Charter and they live and die by the Freedom Charter. When somebody said that clause that is in the Freedom Charter, what do? They arrest him. So this date, the 6th of April, will somebody has just sent on Twitter now to say it should be declared National Land Day. In the EFF, we have already declared it the National Land Day. It is a very important date on our calendar, so when we leave here, we are going to be going to a national event organized by the EFF in George in the Western Cape to mark our National Land Day. Viva the EFF, viva! So now, in that vein, I will call our Commander-in-Chief, or I'll call the Secretary General, Unopala. We have a proper Secretary General, not that Mahashula nonsense. So I'm going to call the real Secretary General in the country to come and address the matter. Mahashula Panze, Pambele Kodrish, Pambele, Pambele Kati, Pambele, Abashwa, Amanda. Thank you very much, our fighters. We have just to introduce our leadership that is with us here. We have the chairperson of the province, Commissar Khoto Morapet. We have the secretary of the province, Commissar Mandisa Mashiko. Mandisa Makesin. We've got so many Mandisas in the EFF. Tata EFF, Tata! Tata EFF, Fata! Out, Mandamela, out! We have members of the Central Command team, some of them from around Free State, Commissar Sam Matiase. Oh, yeah!
umsholozi isono sakhe ukuthi athi izwe alibuyele kubanini balo. Umsholozi bafuna ukumfaka ejele ngoba uthi free education for all. Umsholozi bamfaka ejele ngoba uthi i-mining charter ithi umnotho awubuye kuthina abantu. Umsholozi bayamshaya ngoba uthi i-BRICS ayiqine ukuze i-World Bank ne-IMF egqileza i-Afrika iphume. We are here to stand with the president of the people. President Zuma, you are president of the people. You are not president of 400 people in parliament who don't know what they are doing. We will stand with President Zuma now and will stand with him until the land returns. Let us say this. Hands of Zuma are...
Well, there you have Andile Mqitama, the leader of the BLF. Quite strangely, that Andile Mqitama once upon a time was standing next to Julius Malema as a leader of the EFF as well.
And quite interestingly, Andile Mqitama, the leader of the BLF, an organization that advocates for the restoration of land into black hands, and he's appearing alongside former President Jacob Zuma on the very same time, on the very same day that his former ally in the EFF, Julius Malema, is appearing at the Bloemfontein High Court on issues of inciting people to illegally occupy land. That's quite an interesting coincidence, Professor, don't you think?
It is a fascinating coincidence. It also shows how quickly political alliances can change. We now know that Andile is largely known for his support by and of the Guptas, and that he has been so closely associated with that whole empire, and that he was very involved in the ANC Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma campaign for at Nasrec elections. So the lines get very, very conflated and confused as to who is on what side. But we know unambiguously that the BLF is now one of the organizations. They have so closely associated themselves with the Guptas and with Jacob Zuma that there is almost no other credible alternative political future for them at the moment than to stay on this bandwagon. But the times indeed have changed, and Andile Mqitama is one of those leaders who has been across the political spectrum. We thought he had found for some time a home in the EFF, but alas, that was not going to be.
Now that the land debate or the land issue has been reignited with the ANC partnering with the EFF towards the expropriation of land without compensation, and on the other hand, the BLF has always been advocated for the land to be brought back to the hands of black people. So in this particular instance, should the land issue be passed, as it were, where does that leave the BLF?
The BLF is already really very, very isolated in a corner there, because the land issue has been taken from under their feet. There are other more credible proponents, both in the ANC and the EFF, that are taking this issue forward. And so it shows how the choice of probably the wrong political partners can really undermine the credibility of proponents, very credible, otherwise credible proponents of a certain ideological stance.
We're going to have to interrupt you there, Professor. Let's now go to Bloemfontein High Court.
EFF Free State, Tata, EFF Tata. Fasega Makashule Fase. Fasega Mantombela Fase. Thank you very much. Our Secretary General, Godrich Gadi, and our National Chairperson, Advocate Dalim Pofu, and our leaders who are here from the province, the region, and the Central Command team, members of Parliament. Let me take this opportunity to thank you, comrades and fellow fighters, for having decided to come here in your numbers, because you said this court belongs to you. This is your case, and therefore it is not Julius Malema who's on trial, but the EFF is on trial. Because the EFF demanded that the right thing must be done. And the right thing is that the land must be returned in the hands of our people. Because at the core of our struggle, it is the demand for land. The reason why there were political parties of black people in South Africa, it is because they demanded the land. The first party to be formed was the ANC in 1912, following the wars of dispossession. When our people were defeated because they were fighting as small groups, they saw a need to come together and form one umbrella body which will unite them. And then they formed the ANC to fight for the land. The ANC was not formed to organize a 20 million farewell party for Ace Mahashule. The ANC was not formed to fight for positions and to enrich individuals and their families. So I'm very happy to be here today. And I'm very happy to appear before a court of law, not because I stole money from the poor, but because I'm fighting for the right thing. When you are persecuted for fighting for the right thing, then you know that you will die a martyr. Because the martyrs are those who are persecuted for fighting for the downtrodden and the poor masses of our people. So we are here not because we raped, we are here not because we killed anyone, we are here not because we stole anything. We are here for having recited the Freedom Charter that the people must occupy the land wherever they choose to do so. The new government that said it will be based on the will of the people and inspired by the Freedom Charter, it is now arresting us for repeating after the Freedom Charter. For because I'm not saying anything new, I'm just repeating what Nelson Mandela said. I'm repeating what Sobukwe said. I'm repeating what Steve Biko said. I'm repeating what Christian said. That the land should be returned in the hands of the rightful owners. That the land must be taken from those who have stolen our land. That the land is everything. For because our people, if they do not have the land, their dignity will not be restored. Land is dignity. Land is education. Land is quality health. Land is houses. Land is employment. Today you are here in your numbers because you are unemployed. But if you had the land, you are not going to be here because you will be busy working your land. That's what land does to people. It brings dignity. Le facilitisa siriti. Le facilu weta motu. How motu house na le fasi. That's why we say our relationship with this land, it is not because we are visitors. Our umbilical cords were buried here. The same umbilical cords of white people who are now residing in South Africa, who were born here, they are South Africans too. They too must have the land, but they cannot have the land alone. They must be prepared to share the land with all the people of South Africa. No white man is going to be driven to the sea. There is no need for whites to be scared. There is no need for false alarm. Nowhere in the manifesto of the EFF, nowhere in the constitution of the EFF, nowhere in the utterances of the EFF, there is no narrative in the EFF that says white minority should be driven to the sea. South Africa will be a boring country without white people. We complement one another. They have naturalized here. How about you have naturalized? Can you imagine one day you wake up, there are no trees? The place will look so strange. Like one day we wake up, there are no white people. That will not be the South Africa we know. We want to live with them. We want them to excel not because they are white, but because they've got a particular skill. We want them to be successful not because they are privileged by the color of their skin, but because they've got something to contribute. And if they've got nothing to contribute, then they must come and work for those who have a skill, who have something to contribute. There's nothing wrong having a white domestic worker. There's nothing wrong having a white farm worker. There is nothing wrong having a white security guard. As long as that is their skill, let them be positioned according to their qualification and their skills. Not because they are white, not because they are privileged. So when you say we want the land to be returned in the hands of the people, you are threatening white privilege. It's like you, when you are the only child until you are 18 and you are told all of a sudden your mother is pregnant. I'm going to have to share this thing with somebody else. You are so used to having everything to yourself. But you learn to accept that you cannot stop nature. The new one has arrived. I must share with this one. That's what we're saying to them. The new one has arrived. That new one has arrived in 1994. And to refuse to share with the new one, you are refusing nature. You cannot go against nature and succeed. It is required by nature that those who share this territory, they must share equal. We want black-owned mines, not BEE. 100% black-owned mines. We want black-owned banks. We want black-owned chartered accountant firms, successful firms. We want big law firms. We want you to own the means of production. It is possible. Those who are saying it is not possible, it is because they are victims of colonialism. Please be patient with them. Don't be impatient with them. Habarkolona le alora bat ba EFF le babutsori tlhaloganyo ya hao e sa tshwere ke Jan van Riebeeck. You will be liberated one day. Don't be impatient with them, because you are liberated already. That's why you are in the EFF. How are you liberated? Your mind is free. You can talk to a white man as an equal because your mind is free. Don't be impatient. When we said, let's expropriate land without compensation, they said you are mad. They said the policy that EFF putlamisa economy today the EFF is right. Let's expropriate the land without compensation. 2014 le ka 2016 re rile re batla o increase pure fela social grants ra re tšhelete ya bana ha e double ra re tšhelete ya baholo a e double DA ya re ntho tse di a hlanya tse Bar Malema is mad. Where is he going to get the money? Yesterday, Musima Imani was repeating after the EFF, we must double the social grant. Don't be impatient with them. We are ahead of them. The only problem, Dr. Mbuyiseni, is that every time they pronounce, they don't cite the source. And that is plagiarism in academia. I don't know what process we follow to launch a complaint that these people have plagiarized our manifesto and they don't acknowledge that the source is the EFF. Hey, ntotse a di tsibonana ka ufela tso. Kidi tutsela ntotse ka ufela combine. Uthoma ka ANC, holatela DA, balatela na yualo as people who have got no ideas. Rile ko bona free education. Bana haba ye dikolo mahala. Bari chelete tla tswa ko kae ramacha ka fees must fall. Bari sebetsa le CIA. We want to collapse the economy. Today children are receiving free education. Haba sloba pa free education rarko bona. Bana ba go to university, basa register market rate, ba register. But Malema wants to cause death. Why is he saying children walk to university? The children listened to the EFF, walked into the universities. Not even a single one died. Hey, you will collapse the economy. Hey, the children are going to die. Where is the money going to come from? Jiggy, 2 minutes. Hey, the same thing. That the children get free. More than 100,000 students in universities are in there free of charge because of the EFF. So,
all right, let's now cut out of that address by Julius Malema outside the Bloemfontein High Court and cross back to Durban outside the High Court where Jacob Zuma is taken to the podium.
Ngibonga kakhulu. Ngibonga kakhulu imthandazo yenu eniyenzayo ngaso sonke isikhathi. Sengathi uNkulunkulu anganika amandla njalo. Ukuthi umthandazo wenu isheshe ifike kuye. Inkinga nizibikayo zisheshe zisombululeke. Bahle futhi abafundisi abangasabi. Ngoba mawusithunywa sikaNkulunkulu kumele iqiniso. Awumele intando zethu la emhlabeni. Ngifuna futhi ukuthi ngibona abaholi bekhona ikakhulu ubaba uPremier wala kule province. Ubaba uNyanda Mkhonto. Matingwa. Kanye nabanye abaholi abakhona bona nabaholi bembokodo bakhona yala ku province nabaholi bentsha bakhona la ku province nabo bonke abaholi abaqhamuke inhlanganweni ezahlukahlukene nani nonke enikhona lapha phakathi kwethu ngifuna ukuzibongela phinde futhi ngizibongele njengoba ngake ngabonga eminyakeni eminingi edlule. Kunezinto ezike zihlela abantu zikulandele noma uthi uyazivika zingavikeki. Ngo 2005 ngicabanga ukuthi uma ibalo zami ngihlanganisa kahle sekuyishumi leminyaka neminyaka emithathu ngavela enkantolo ngibekwa lamacala engibekwa wona namhlanje angaze ngizwe ukuthi umuntu ubekwa icala elilodwa lichithwe liphinde libuye futhi awukho umehluko nomncane esile manje ayikade maningi esesile manje angazi ukuthi lawa athethweni lawa asukile elinye ijaji lapho eMgungundlovu lathi malikhipha isinqumo lingikhipha phambili ngoba awekho namacala akhiwe asungulwa kwaboshwa amanqinanyathe epolitiki I think kwakujaji uNetherson uhulumeni wa-aphila ukuthi kufanele ngilahlele licala noma kumnyama kubomvu kuthe kusenjalo kwatholakala ukuthi ngempela ijaji lali right kwatholakala izinto eziqoshwe phansi kwababekhuluma ngemfihlakalo ukuthi angiboshelweni lokhu sekudume ngokuthi ama-tapes ayakhuluma ngiyofisa nje ukuthi nenkantolo uma iqhubekile ngoba sizoyi-challenge sizoyi-challenge bani basithathe kanjani isinqumo kodwa uma iqhubekile akalelelwe yizwe lama-tape ukuthi ayithini ukuze le nto engiyishonizwe ukuthi ngangingakhulumi nje ngoba ngizonda abantu ile nto eyabangela ukuthi abashushisi babone ukuthi abalihoxisi icala ngoba bonile bangibophela amanqinanyathi libuyiswa ipolitiki namanje kukhona amaqembu aphikisayo ipolitiki ayikho dololo abakwazi ukuxoxa ePhalamende bawine idebate benza idemocracy yethu ibe isimanga baqhuba i-opposition yabo not ePhalamende enkantolo ayikho ipolitiki yibo laba ngaphezu kweshumi leminyaka eselokhu beyinkantolo bathi sifuna leli cala nama-tape lawa uma uzokhulunywa ngawo ngazi ukuthi imina lokhuluma phakathi because kuthiwa Zuma tapes hayi kukhulunywa ngami abanye abantu abakhuluma lapha phakathi bebopha amaqhinga okungibopha asiyekekele ngoba sengibekwe icala njengoba ngize namhlanje ngizobekwa icala ngibekwa la amacala engabekwa wona lawo kwathola ukuthi angamanqinanyathi inkantolo zisathi hayi ake ngiqhutshwe ngiboshwe kunengeke sokungehlele njengensizwa mina ngiyazi uma insizwa izinto ziyakwehlela uma ngithi kwenze njani akekho okhulumayo kodwa bayoze baxoxela amagwaba bethoba ngelinye ilanga ngeke singene endabeni yecala leli manje ngoba selibuyele ezenkantolo kuthiwa indaba zasenkantolo kazixoxe emgwaqweni abafundele bathi sub judice ngeke ngixoxe nje into eyenzekile namhlanje sifikile labeka icala lasehlehlisiselwa ngubani hlaka 8 kuJune ngoba kusekhona imininingwane esazoqhubeka ngithena nje ngikusho lokho ngoba ikhona ukukhulunyiwe nokufunda nje emaphepheni ngoba intatheli bezikhona angikukhuluma okunye lisehlile siyobuyela enkantolo mhla ka-8 kuJune ngifuna ukunibonga-ke ukuthi namanje ngemva kweshumi leminyaka neminyaka emithathu lapho khona naninginikeza isapoti enkulu namanje nisaqhubeka nisenze njalo ngokwazi kwethu umuntu uma ebekwe amacala akusho ukuthi usegwetshiwe usenamalungelo agcwele awonke umuntu uma beyibeka ngesingisi bathi innocent until proven otherwise bayamangaza-ke abantu abafuna ukungithatha sengathi sengiyisiboshwa nabantu engibathembile nje impela nabantu engazi ukuthi impela bayizingcweti zomthetho bafuna ukuthi ngiphathwe njengesiboshwa iboshwa ezingahlangani nabantu phezocela ugwayi so ukuba khona kwenu la kubonisa ukuthi indaba ye-constitution nomthetho neyazi kahle anizwa ngendaba ngoba alidedelwe icala liqhubeka uma lizoqhubeka ngoba zikhona ingqinamba ngaleli cala lize lifike ekugcineni futhi abafuna liqhubeke mhlawumbe uma seliqhubeka bayofisa ukuthi lingaqhubeki ngoba amanga namanqenenyathi ebhekene neqiniso kuyobonakala ngibeka amacala okuthengwa kweyikhaya lathengwa ngila kwi-province mina ngiyi-MEC zithengwa i-government enational mhlawumbe kwakuwumoya wami wawulaphaya angazi uzokangitsheleka umuntu ngenzani kodwa-ke asiyekele enkantolo umsebenzi wenkantolo lo kodwa lisangcolisiwe igama likaZuma noma bekhuluma ngoZuma abasho ukuthi kunama-allegations against uZuma kuthiwa nje uZuma isikhohlakala banenhlanhla abantu bengasashaya ngoba ngabe sengashaya abantu abaningi apha ngesitulo abakhuzwa uma besho njalo kodwa-ke hayi ngizama nje ukusho ukuthi mina sekungicacele manje ukuthi abantu abaphethe umthetho ezamacala nabantu bezepolitiki njengoba umuntu ngamunye enamalungelo nje mina bacabanga ukuthi anginawo basho yonke into abayithandayo impela njengoba ngisho nje banenhlanhla ukuthi abantu abasashayo lokungenadosi nje iyaqiniyela lokungenabuso mhlambele ndishiye kodwa-ke akuthusi lokho ngoba ngiyabazi abantu mina ngazi lento kuthiwa umuntu onobuntu ngazi noma nabantu futhi kuthiwa uhlaza lo nabantu futhi kuthiwa uyeyisa lo abafana abantu kodwa-ke ngafunda isifundo esihle ukuthi umuntu uma ekweyisa myeke usukumlandela ngoba wena umuntu wangempela ngisebuthuka ethi uyinja hleka nje uyihambele ngoba uyona inja futhi uma ungase uphindizele kuye sokusola ukuthi kanti uyasola na ukuthi uyinja na ulelani pho ngoba uyona inja uhambe ngenyawo eziwu-4 awunawo umlomo ucijile awunamsilo omude ukhathazwa yini ke so uma bethuka ubusuku nemini ngiyababuka nje ngisho amapolitician akhuluma ngami ngiyababuka nje awazi napolitiki amanye abo amavukana nje akazi nokuthi kuyiwaphi ngike ngezwe elinye lithi uZuma akangakhankasi kulolu khetho akangakhankasi ngathi yibo labantu engangibashaya msemshe faka induku nje ngithi qonda uthi thwi ngiyabonga bakwethu akulona ilanga lokukhuluma leli ilanga lokubonga ngifisa ukubonga futhi izikhulumo esezibe khona ngemva kokuba sekuthandaziwe ezisho izinto ezibaluleke kabi kuthina thina ndlu emnyama khona into eningayazi indlu emnyama ihlupheka kulo lonke izwe akukho lapho kufika khona ingahlupheki kwezinye indawo nje amazweni amakhulu nedemocracy badutshulwa njalo nje badutshulwa sengilikhohliwe lelizwe ukuthi liphi konje bake bahlala phezu komuntu bemklinya wathi uma uyavaleka bawuvala wafa ngoba emnyama ngisho ngayakuliphizo ngisho ngayakwelamangisi lapho kuhlala khona abantu abamnyama kunomehluko nalapho kuhlala khona abangemnyama umthwalo womuntu omnyama unzima enkathi kuqoqwa abantu bedayiswa njengempahla benziwa igqila iningi labo kwakungabantu base-Afrika elacebisa amanye amazwe ngenkathi amazwe ase-Europe ehlangana eJalimane exoxa ngokuthi aweze Afrika kuleli zwekazi lase-Afrika azolehlukanisa enze amazwe awo e-Afrika abakazi ayenze kwenye ilokuzana i-continent yenziwa la kuthina kuphela ngiyababona nje abase-Latin America kodwa la kwakufiwa usizi lwama-systems abuhlungu adlule kumuntu omnyama thina-ke silwela inkululeko hayi hayi ngumlomo sangena phakathi sizimisela ukufa nokufa sayiwina inkululeko ngo-1994 inkinga yethu manje ikakhulu lengizondelwa yona ingoba ngithi ayipheleli inkululeko uma unepolitiki kuphela ingekho i-economy ingekho i-security ezandleni zakho yilezo zizathu-ke sigijinyiswe inkantolo ngoba sizama ukuvala umlomo kwathula zohlakaniphisa abantu lamba nje wena ulungile ungabi nandaba nabantu abaneyimali njengenyathi ngoba ngeke bangene ezulwini kwanele ngizwe kahle ikhulumo izikhuluma la ngivumelana nazo kwanele kulungile mina ngiyenkantolo kodwa azilungise izinto kuphela indlala awubuye umhlaba ayishintshi i-economy besezandleni zawonke umuntu radical economic yes ngiyabonga bakwethu ngibonga kakhulu lokhu enikwenzayo libonisa ukuthi ithambo lowakini niyofalafela khona ukubumbana kwenu kuyimfihlo yempumelelo uma ningabambene ningabumbene ningekho united nihlakazekile isitha siphephula kalula nje kodwa uma nibambene nihlangene niyoziwina zonke eniyozilwa ngiyanibonga-ke bakwethu ngifuna ukubonga kakhulu abefundisi bami ababhishophu abahlale bekhona ngaso sonke isikhathi lababhishophu abamla abadidekile ukuthi ivangeli kufuneke lihambe kanjani benza lento esiyesizwe abefundisi bethu bekhuluma bethi ohluphekile nowonile ufuneke asingathwe akhulekelwe abaholi bezenkolo akushiyi ukuthi uma umthola ekhathazekile esenhlungwini ngicindezele enye inkolo leyo angazi noma eyaphi le nkolo kodwa iThixo akasho njalo ngiyabonga-ke bakwethu bonga ukuthi ngibe khona somanje ngaso sonke isikhathi amandla awethu ukuthi ngikhuluma nokanizwa kahle ukuthi ngimanqabanqaba zensizwa ngimanqabanqaba ngimanqabanqaba zensizwa ngimanqabanqaba sangakithi engaphulana zonke manqabanqaba ngimanqabanqaba zensizwa ngimanqabanqaba zensizwa sangakithi engaphulana zonke manqabanqaba zensizwa
Give
Former President Jacob Zuma addressing the multitudes of his supporters outside the Durban High Court shortly after the postponement of his corruption trial to the 8th of June. And Zuma crying victimization, saying that he's being victimized. And he's been making this call ever since the case got to the fore, and since 13 years ago. And, we now cross back to Bloemfontein High Court, where he's a former ally and now Chief 4, Julius Malema, is also addressing his supporters. Let's go there now.
Abitawa to go stadium mare he tlaleng ke tsetseng farewell he ke a Joburg ke a tsama ke a Joburg farewell ke a etsetsa farewell ke empty stadium se mo shebile but ba praise tata ba ra re nontsontsho rena re ke re nontsontsho ba ra ha kai good riddance ba ta bona bo Malema ona mo hai Mole mutlisitse pleke right mo from lukisa go Gauteng mola o tla khutla mo ale rege. So fighters, let's go to the ground, let's work, let's build a strong EFF. We are very few. We cannot afford to fight amongst ourselves. We must always close ranks because the enemy is out there to destroy us. We must look after each other's back. We must protect each other's back. It doesn't matter how angry you are with me. It doesn't matter how much angry you are about the branch people's assembly and the regional people's assembly. It's not about you. It's not about the branches. It's about this weapon in the hands of the landless masses of our people. You destroy the EFF, you destroy the hope of the unemployed. You destroy the EFF, you destroy the hope of the security guards. How senamo kotomo ukria wanama di security basa patelwe fokol. Basaluta, they salute the red beret because that's where their hope is. When they see you, they see hope. When ukaba ubata benefita in the immediate, hey, it's not about you. It's about these so many graduates who are not working. By the Kolo, Kacheleta Mafello go high, Kadi Cheleteta Wadimisiwa, yet they don't have jobs. If Messereti into a Kadi Fani, how Simufuke now Ole, how Simbalula, how Tole, Hobata Utime Jabum Balula or something, how Saiti Jabum Balula, okay. House of Robert Bona, Baubata di Cubo, House of Robert Bona, about Fimusili. Itagazesa, Feria, Jaditi, Feria, Ifria Gamusevis, Parking from where comment form. Z33, ma proposa Z33, finale Z33 Gamunata. Down to be said, say, go look, he said. If you ever walk out, how not trap, Lambo, how not from my heart. Moto, what are the go? It are to see. I talk a man, I thought, say, lady. It are to. Hey, it's one see, fail and tray about night. Rebata, fail and talk about to Musebe, Gadi. Because we qualified. IT, South African, let me say it here, but Bas Kenandi Kolo, Rebata we tall a little. White but South Africa, hey, Lerata EF. Halil matati Hali jali eleva la EFF le votela batho ba ANC mona aba o temela mosebetsing wa bo security o tla bo matcha ka diboots tsa security o ya di officing tsa EFF ke le voted o bua maka ha nke bo re voted nka be re winne and ha nka be re winne ne re ka so tebele mosebetsi ne re tlo mka go company ra tsena mo puso full time wa sebeletsa puso tloelang o rata EFF a le mathateng le lona di-journalist le ratang EFF a le trabolong o bone le ke tshwere lengwalo la Sunday Times a ba pateng ba discriminator di-journalist tja Sunday Times ba tla bosiu kwaka hey CIC ke re ba na le tseba le gore ke CIC bosiu re na le borifi ke bo re tshwere hampi ko Sunday Times mara ha ile di-election o tla ba bona ba etsa ntwela ya Tepu le Zuma para sina valo kai valo full valo because when you are in trouble hey where is the EFF when they are beaten by whites where is the EFF office hey send this to EFF when they are not paid salaries hey send this to EFF mara di election di fitla hai spuma kude no complos hai re ka se regise Mandela o ka iwe o regisa Mandela le ga o ta go le bitela Mandela ba o shapa maburu ne ha re rateng EFF ha o le monati le ha o le botlhoko re tla bona seriti sa batho ba batsho se tla kgutla ka gore ke EFF le nosi ye lwanelang batho ba batsho yes nam problemo ha e lwanela batho ba batsho ha re re tsene motse ka motse re ska kgathala bana beso never be tired ko dipetlele kwa ke rena ba sile dipetlele o ka re ke di hoko tsa di kgo o ka re ke mo nang di tonki ka mo di wateng tsa bana di rifu di a wela di pula di a kena bana ba banyenyane ba sa tsobelewa they must be born into a comfort zone bana ba rena they get born into poverty into indignity and that will be their life for the rest of their life. They see poverty the day they are born until they die. Even when we bury them, their funerals are the same as the day of their birth. They've never known a better life. You were born into a bad condition. Your children are born into a bad condition. How na me bete ko di betele batho ba mo fatsi Miriana ite batho ba kulang ke malwetse a maholo abu HIV and AIDS ba bitswa ba eme molaini mo ba fotse line ba AIDS tlang ka mona ba bitswa in front of other people ba humiliate like that because they don't want them to come back. Those are our people. That's why re ngwaha ke ngwaha wa public health. Hona le minister Ramola ba re ke motswaledi ba morata ambi di journalists ba phela ba re motswaledi the best minister le aba mo rate ba mo fa B ba mo fa A motswaledi the best minister. How? Because all public hospitals have collapsed, including the public hospitals which were meant for white people. They used to be the best hospitals. The ANC came and destroyed them. They were bound to collapse. Why? Those hospitals were meant to accommodate few white people. Since you opened them, the capacity is too low to carry so many people. We're supposed to open those hospitals and increase their capacity, because we're now opening the doors for everyone. They have not done that. What used to be the best hospitals are now extremely bad hospitals. If you can't get education right, if you can't get health right, forget. What are you in government for? You are in government for tenders, for friends. Because that is not why we need a government that will address the basic needs. I'm saying to you, economic freedom is land, but land cannot be given to uneducated people, because uneducated people, when you give them land today, they sell it back to the same person we took from. Why? Abatsi Mara Babata Chelet. So we must educate you. Or Halifax in Fita, Oscana or Chelete, if it Halifax. Bow for 1 million. But you can make 5 million, got that land. But because you are not educated and you don't know, you allow that nonsense. That's why education is a sustainable solution to economic freedom. Arkene Nikolu. And you are too old. Basic education, le facilite, le facilite batu baba to le sebeta. The land is coming. It must find you ready. Le facilite ke batho ba dinyaupe. Le facilite batho ba di alcohol. Le facilite batho ba ba le the necessary knowledge and skills and the necessary energy to work the land. Fighters, we will see you soon. They will tell you once we're finalized with the family of Mrs. Winnie Mandela. It looks like there will be another activity here, which will be announced in a due course. Once a family is met and we've agreed on how we're going to proceed. Thank you very much for coming in your numbers. Please go home peacefully in a disciplined manner. Don't allow the enemy to suck your blood. Thank you.
All right, Julius Malema addressing the throngs of supporters just outside the Bloemfontein High Court, wherein he's just appeared briefly and after his case was postponed to the 27th of July. Remember that he's been charged for inciting violence under the Realtors Act for telling people that when they see a nice piece of land, they should just occupy it. And one interesting observation is that this day, 366 years ago, Jan van Riebeeck settled in South Africa, and pundits say that this is actually the day that heralded the dispossession of land from black people by the white settlers. And this day is the actual day that Julius Malema is appearing in court on the same issue of the land. That's interesting, there, Professor, don't you think?
It is another fascinating coincidence of this day, and yes, historical significance. Very, very tangible. And Julius Malema then addressing the land issue in a very profound way in his speech, and emphatic in terms of the need to reclaim land. And of course, that is so essential to the emotive aspects of capture and conquest in South Africa. And for the future, for future stability, that emotive issue needs to be addressed. And Julius Malema was also setting out some very practical options, including making sure that his advocacy of land expropriation is not equated with racism and driving land whites back into the ocean where Jan van Riebeeck came from, but emphasizing that it has to be shared, and emphasizing several points in his speech, the need for orderliness and discipline, but showing how he really is a great orator and he can mobilize and take those people in front of him and masses who were probably listening to him with him.
Okay, well, another case that just unfolded inside the Durban High Court is where former President Jacob Zuma appeared, and his matter has been postponed to the 8th of June. We now cross over to our reporter, Yandam Mhlongo, who's standing by in Durban.